G'day guys, welcome to the Fair Income Podcast. Today we got the champ Billy DIB on, and I'll let him tell you what we spoke about.
Man, we're talking about everything in my life, the journey, the ups and downs, the highs, the lows, the successes, the failures. And it's okay, man. We can fail at times, but it's all about getting back up. Enjoy the podcast, tune in, like and subscribe. Otherwise, you're going to get it. My trainer, one of my trainers at the time, his name is Brian Wilmot, who's my cut man, but he's also one of my trainers. He writes on the wall with sticky tape, W-I-N, win. That's it. Just wrote win on like big sticky tape letters. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go out and win, no matter what happens, man. And I said to Johnny Lewis, I said, Johnny, listen, whatever happens in the fight, don't stop the fight.
Oh, wow.
Whatever happens, let me go out on my shield, man. Let me do what I got to do.
Wow.
And I got in the ring, and I promise you, I saw death.
Did you you know how Lomachenko grew up doing like the traditional dancing for like boxing?
Yeah.
And his old man was like, he drilled it into him to have footwork beforehand.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever do anything similar to that as well?
I just did gymnastics.
Nah.
Yeah, I did a little bit of gymnastics growing up. So
I hear about it a lot because George St. Pierre's coach, Faraz Zahabi.
nah.
Yeah, Faraz Zahabi he's one of like, in MMA, he's one of like the most touted coaches there is. And he always says like, my kids, they're not getting hit in the head before 14, but what they're going to do is they're going to do gymnastics at the age of like 5.
Yeah, well, for me, when I was younger, I did a lot of gymnastics only because I was very athletic. I loved that stuff. I loved to learn how to do flips, backflips, all that sort of business, you know what I mean? Prince Nassim Hamed was like my childhood hero. He used to do the flip over the ropes.
Yeah.
And even though I knew how to do it, I never did it because I was like, man, could you imagine that went south? Imagine you try to do the flip and then you end up on your face.
Yeah, well, that would have been the worst.
That's the last time you see
There's
it.
a couple of fighters, you've seen them, bro. One guy, he popped his shoulder out of place in the UFC. He popped his shoulder out of place doing the worm.
Oh, well.
He done the worm as a celebration.
I seen a guy the other day try to do the Costa Zoo over the top rope and face planted.
Oh my!
Was it?
And then a poor thing who was like a favorite to win ended up getting knocked out as well. So yeah,
He did it before the fight. Didn't do it as a celebration.
he did it before the fight. When he walked into the ring, they announced him, and he was walking in. He stepped over the rope onto the stairs, got up to the top rope, tried to do the whole jump over the rope, and face planted, and then did the whole roly poly to try to make it look like he did it on purpose.
He would have been
Casual.
buckling, man. His head would have
I
been
need
all
to try
over
to
the
find the
place.
footage of that for you guys.
Oh
Are gonna
my
have a
God.
laugh.
Well, that's hilarious, bro. Can you imagine, like, after that, like, you were in the mindset, you're like, gee, I'm ready to go. I'm going to take this guy's head off. And then you stack it.
Yeah,
Oh, bro.
I think that really shot his confidence right down, man.
Yeah, big time.
It's like, oh, no, that's it. Everything I thought about myself out the window.
Yeah.
Couldn't even land the flip. But alhamdulillah, bro. Well, but see, one thing this is actually a great segue into talking about it because we want to start the journey from younger years. Younger
cool,
Billy,
man.
For sure.
Growing up on the streets of Sydney. What area did you start? Where did you grow up in?
So, when I was born at St. George Hospital, which is in Cogra, and for the first 3 years of my life, my family and I, we lived in Hurstville. Then my father, he bought a convenience store in Engadine, which is in the Sutherland Shire, towards Cronulla and Sutherland and all them areas. And basically, we were there for years on end. Like, I basically grew up there, so we grew up in a hard-working environment. My father was a hard-working man, and he wanted to instill that in us, and nothing came easy. We had to work for everything we wanted. You want something, you got to work for it. Nothing was ever given. Not like, for example, I have a son today, and my son, he wants something. Daddy, I want this. Dad, you can have it, Dad. No problem, because I just want to give my son everything. That's just the type of person that I am. I'm like, I work so hard to be in the position that I'm in. So if I can give my son everything that he wants, I'm going to give it to him, But my dad, he couldn't do that.
Yeah.
He had 6 boys and 1 girl. And if every child did that in the household, that'd be a mess.
Wallah.
So, we had to work hard for everything that we had, man. And growing up wasn't easy because where we grew up was predominantly Anglo.
Yeah.
And here you have a you know, young, like my brother Jihad is lucky because he actually looked like an Aussie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had that whole white complexion.
The blue eyes.
Yeah, but me and my brothers, man, we got hit with that Lebanese stick, you know what I mean? We got that Arab Middle Eastern stick, and you know, school was tough, man. School, we got picked on like severely, like we were forever getting into fights.
Yeah.
You know, we'd be sticking up for each other. We'd be fighting this guy off, fighting that guy off. You know, our shop that we used to have, my dad's convenience store, it used to get egged like on a weekly basis. You know what I mean? People would write on the fences, go home, you wogs.
Wow.
Things, yeah, no joke. It
The
was
the shop was in the south as well.
so the shop was in Engadine. Like we lived. We had a convenience store, and behind the convenience store was our house. We had a two-story home behind the convenience store, and like it wasn't all bad. It was good. We had good memories, you know what I mean? We had good times. We made good friends over there, but you got the odd racist here and there, you know, and we had to deal with that. But that was cool. It's all right. You know what? It actually helped me, you know, develop in the person that I became because of you know, growing up in that harsh environment at times, getting into fights. That's how I found boxing. So I got to really thank those people for helping me find my, you know, my future in the sport of boxing. Exactly.
Oh, no, that's actually awesome. It's crazy because I wouldn't have thought you would have grown up in the South, especially knowing what happened in the early 2000s when Cronulla riots and
yeah. Well, I was actually in America at that time. I was in America, and when I got back, everyone was like, "Listen, whatever you do, don't go to Cronulla." And I'm like, "What do you mean? My best friend lives there." And they're like, "Yeah, but don't go there, man."
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm like, what do you mean don't go there? And they're like, it's this situation. And then, you know, back in them days, YouTube and that wasn't like that big, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a massive thing. And, you know, social media wasn't such a big thing. So you never really got the news. But because I was in training camp, I wasn't really focused on TV or anything like that. I wasn't hearing anything about what was going on. And then once I started doing research, man, I was like, wow. I remember like a year ago, me and my wife were watching the Cronulla riots on YouTube, like a full segment or something. I turned to the right and my wife was crying. I'm like, what are you crying for? This happened like ages ago. She's like, can't believe people actually went through that.
Yeah.
It was tough, man.
There was like, even my mum was like watching it, and you can actually feel the ripple effect in Melbourne. Like that's how bad the situation was. Like you started to feel the divide. And the problem was, like you were saying, there was not much social media to kind of like counteract it. So then you started seeing only like my side versus their side.
Yeah, it was us against them.
You know what I mean?
It was definitely us against them.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not a good way to live your life, you know what I mean? It's
100%.
And in Australia, we try to teach this thing about equality and try to teach this thing about, you know, not. I don't see it though, you know what I mean? Like I just don't see it. I find like it's just like hot air. It's just like people talking, you know what I mean? But it'll forever be you're Arab and you're Aussie and you're the, you know what I mean? Like it's not like I don't care what your citizenship says.
Yep.
You don't look like an Aussie, you know what I mean? Like even when I went overseas and I started fighting in America, they're like, Billy Dib from Australia, and I got up and I'm like, no, Billy Dib from Australia. I'm like, I am Billy Dib and I am from Australia. And they're like, we expected a blonde-haired, blue-eyed sort of looking guy, you know what I mean? I'm like, you're thinking like, you must be thinking Neighbours or something like that, or Home and Away. That ain't me. And I said, Australia's a very multicultural country. As you can see, I'm here representing Australia.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
Yeah, it was a bit of a culture shock for us coming to Sydney as well, because like Melbourne, we feel is a bit more mixed, but we're surprised like how separated the areas are and like how the culture is in terms of people. So it was like a bit of a surprise, but then obviously it's something that needs to be worked on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think people try to break down the barriers, and I mean, I guess I just roll with the flow. You know what I mean? I just go with the flow. It is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I try not to get caught up in the whole political side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that it's easier to get through life without having to deal with that rubbish.
True. It's too dirty. The game's too dirty. I'll be honest.
Well,
You can't actually navigate through it as a decent human being and kind of like get out of it clean. You know.
I don't know. I really don't get into it, to be honest. I just press pause on that and move on. You know.
That's it. But Leah, let's just touch on what you were saying from before. The way you were like, you don't really like when you were growing up in Cronulla, you had mates who were obviously Aussie, and then you had, you know, your boys or your family as well who were Lebanese or Palestinian, and then you kind of like think about it and you're like, there's actually some people that are Aussies that I trust more than I trust my own people.
Yeah.
And there's vice versa as well, you know?
Yeah, well, one of my best friends, his name's James Lovell. He's a childhood friend and somebody who stuck up for me during my difficult times at school. So, you know, but obviously, to me, family's everything, man. Like I've got 5 brothers and I got 1 sister, and that's my gang right there. You know what I mean? That's my team. You know what I mean? And then I got all my relatives. Like each one of my aunties, my dad had 10 siblings. And each one of my aunties and uncles had minimum of 3 to 6 kids.
Wow.
So you could imagine how many cousins I've got. I've got like loads and loads of cousins.
100%.
And growing up, I had 3 of my cousins who were the same age as me. My cousin Jihad, my cousin Ahmed, and my cousin Sharif. So like we would just
Beautiful.
kicking it 24/7. You know what I mean? And like,
Stuck, huh?
and even though we lived in like my cousin Sharif lived in Penshurst, my cousin Ahmed, he grew up in Menai. Jihad grew up in Hurstville and I was in Engadine. We always found a way to get together.
100%.
Like we always found each other, you know, and it wasn't too hard to get on a train and meet somewhere, you know, but I guess, you know, they were my friends, you know what I mean? They were my friends. Like my cousins were my best friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's, and actually, like in regards to my boxing success, all I wanted to do was share it with them. You know, I always just was like, man, I want to share it with my cousins, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My success is their success is my success. You know, I was just fortunate enough to be able to do it on a big stage, you know what I mean, and get them to travel with me and have fun, and we always had just great times.
That's sick, man. So they
Yeah, it
came
was
with you when you won these ones, huh?
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was like, but I remember winning the IBF world title, and my cousin Ahmed was like with me during the whole prep, I'm reckon from day dot till the day we won the world title. And I remember like days leading up to the world title fight, we would be in the car and he'd be like, man, this is something we've been dreaming of since we were kids, because we used to box together. And he's like, and you're going to get to do it and whatever. I'm like, bro, I'm going to win it for us, you know?
That's awesome.
And then we won it. And then that night, we slept over my house and we slept in my mum and dad's room, and we put the belt right in between both of us. Like, cuz we're sleeping with the world title.
That's surreal.
No, we were talking about it. We were having a
awesome.
laugh because when we were in we had to sleep in the same bed as well, me and Ahmed. And I was like, we need a chastity pillow, you know? So that was your chastity pillow. Nothing better than a belt,
Man, that was
mate.
cool, bro. We just woke, like, and when we woke up in the morning, we ran the biggest muck, man, because we had a big life-size poster of the guy that I fought.
Nah.
And we put the belt on him. And
No
we're
way.
like, this is the closest you'll ever get to the belt, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, again, social media wasn't big back then. Like, it wasn't massive back then. It was like Facebook and things like that. But if Instagram and like things like that were around at that time, I would have had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, you know what I mean? But it wasn't around back then, you know what I mean? It was like sort of Instagram and that was coming out like as my reign was finishing.
Yeah.
And even though my reign's not finished, I'm still like, you know, winning titles and that, and trying to put myself in a position to win another world title. We'll see what happens. But you know, we definitely had a lot of fun, man. It was good.
I was telling you on the phone, they saw the number 7 ranking. Wallah, I got G'd. Wallah.
Yeah, for
That's
sure, man.
crazy.
It's a testament to me as a fighter and as a human. You know what I mean? I have this never say die attitude. Like, I never give in.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, because 7 times in my boxing career, I've found myself back in the world ratings. And you might say, oh, you've only lost 6 fights. How do you find yourself there 7 times? Well, I had to build myself to get there first time.
Yep.
Right? And then I won the IBO title. Then I lost the WBO world title. Then I won the IBF world title. Then I lost it. But I found myself back in the ratings every single time. Like, if you look through the years, from 2008 all the way through down now to where we are in 2022, at some point in them years, you always find me in the ratings. Always. And I'm not talking just about top 15. I'm talking about top 10. You know what I mean? Like, which is cool, you know. I should go through and like print them just to keep them for myself, because you can actually go through the sanctioning bodies and actually take the dates. But right now I'm rated at number 7 with the IBF, but the WBO I think gonna put me at number 5. So that's pretty cool, man. And so I'm on like what you call the doorstep of knocking on a world title fight. Right now, the lightweight division is very stacked, and obviously George Kambosos, who is from Australia, holds the titles. Well, he holds 3 of the 4 titles. Yep. Devin Haney holds the other one. Now, what happens on June the 5th when they face each other is another story. But the thing that, in regards to them, the belts are going to be tied up for a little while, because George is fighting Haney. If Haney beats him, then George has got to fight him in a rematch.
Oh, they got a
But
clause.
then if George wins, he's gonna fight Lemchenko next. So like you could pretty much say that the belts would be tied up for another year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only other belt that's out there that I'm really interested in collecting is the IBO lightweight title, which is held by a Englishman by the name of Maxie Hughes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a definite. I'd like to face Maxie Hughes, collect that belt, and then even though the thing is with the IBO, it's regarded as a really good title, but not regarded as one of the top 4.
Yep.
So then you got the WBO, the IBF, the WBA, and the WBC. They're the kingpins.
Yep.
And alhamdulillah, I've had the IBF world title at featherweight, but the WBO title is not considered one of the 4 kingpins. But it would still be nice to bring that into the mix.
Definitely.
It's like many, many years ago, Oscar De La Hoya was fighting Fernando Vargas, and they were like, oh, we need to make it a title fight. So they put the IBA, International Boxing Association title on the line, and made it a world title fight. And the thing is, when you're a guy like Oscar De La Hoya or Muhammad Ali or Shane Mosley or Prince Nassim, titles don't matter. Yeah. But when you're coming up in the game, the titles matter. But when you've got an established name, you make the title doesn't make you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when you're building up, it's different. The title makes you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It gives you your platform.
Exactly.
And then you become the one that everyone's chasing, the kingpin that everyone wants to face.
Did you feel that before you got your first title? You felt like you were chasing?
Well, I was on the chase. I was definitely on the hunt. You know what I mean? I was like, you're the hunter, and then you become the hunted.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens.
Yep.
Everyone wants to take your scalp. And then I remember being in camp when I was challenging, getting ready to fight for the IBF world title. But like, subhanAllah, like when I think about it, I was a sure thing. I was like, man, I'm going to win this world title. There was not one ounce of doubt in me. I knew I was going to win it. There was like not 1 ounce of doubt. And I remember on the day of the fight, and I said to my mum, I said, listen, don't even worry. Don't even stress. I've got this. I'm going to win. She's like, subhanAllah, I slept so comfortably last night. I just feel like today's your day. And I'm like, it is. It's my day. You know what I mean? I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do everyone proud. And then, but what I was saying earlier is that when I was in camp and I had all these young fighters coming up who were rated in the featherweight division, I was telling them, listen, when I win this world title, don't you dare come out and call me out and speak my name or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? I'm chasing bigger names. So I sort of understand where George Kambosos was coming from, because, the craziest thing is that George, before he went to America to fight Teofimo Lopez, this is a true story. And I'm happy to back the story up with like evidence of my phone. I told him, I messaged him, I said, listen, man, you do the job against Teofimo and I'll do the job against Jacob NG, and then you and I can fight in a massive stadium fight. And he's like, yeah, man, as long as we both get paid, I'm happy, Yeah. That's his exact words. You know what? I actually was going through my social media a couple of weeks ago and looking at our conversation. Well, on Instagram, you can actually delete a message from the conversation. He deleted that message from the conversation.
No.
Like, what the that for? How low can you go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how low can you go? You know what I mean? Seriously. He deleted that message. I'm like, what the hell?
That's nuts.
This guy's nasty. Because I was gonna screenshot that message and send it to his promoter, Lou DiBella.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, but you can actually see in the conversation that something's been deleted.
Yeah.
You can tell.
That makes it worse.
And then the conversation carries on. You know what I mean? But like, I'm just like, man, whatever. But because the first thing that he did when he got off the plane, when he got back to Australia, was like, I'm not going to fight no Australian or whatever. I'm like, well, man, listen, Devin Haney is a star in the US. And I'm not doubting that, and I'm not questioning that. But if you want to have an all-Australian battle in a stadium, you're going to get a much better crowd. If you got two Australians facing off against each other, you're going to get a much better crowd, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, it is what it is. And guess what? The cookie will crumble the way the cookie will crumble, and you'll only get what Allah's written for you anyway, so I'm cool with that.
That's it, wallah.
It is all good, man. It is all good. And I'm not a hater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a supporter, and I wish him all the very best. But that was a shit go, man.
Yeah, honestly. George, come on, mate. Pull up, let's be honest.
Pull up, George. Pull your socks up, mate.
But yeah, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things, because subhanAllah, that was like, there's a lot of things to process from what you just said. But the one thing that stood out to me was the fact that there's the hunter becoming the hunted.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see which side of things you actually preferred. Did you like being hunted more? Did you like being the hunter more? Which one?
Well, when I was hunting, when I was hunting, I was chasing, and I was fighting often. Like I remember the year when leading into the world title fight, I think I had nearly. I think I'm gonna say I had nearly close to 6 or 7 fights in the year leading up to the world title fight. I was active, man. And then when you become champion, it's like you no longer have that luxury of being that active anymore, because every fight becomes a like extravaganza. You know what I mean? It becomes like a massive event, and you got to pay sanctioning fees. And don't think it's cheap to be a world champion. It's not cheap to be world champion. It costs you money to be
What do you
champion.
mean?
Well, example, when you are the IBF champion and you have to pay sanctioning fees to the sanctioning body. To be the champion of that belt, you need to pay them sanctioning fees. And so it's a percentage of your purse. So let's just say, for example, you're getting paid, I'm just going to give an example, $1 million. You have to pay 3% of $1 million to the sanctioning body.
Just because you got the belt.
Just because you got the belt. So, but not that I got paid that much money, but I'm just saying that's the example I'm giving you.
Yeah.
But every fight you had to basically be like, okay, we need another 30 or 40 grand just for, sanctioning fees. We need the judges, but you have to fly the commissioner in, because there's a commissioner of that belt. So there's all these other expenses. So fighting, even though I would have loved to defend my title 20 million times in 1 year, you can't, because you have to pay all these sanctioning fees. And like, it's not easy to keep going back to the fans and be like, okay, here's another event and the tickets are another $200 or another $300 or whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, example, but so it's not. So when I became champion, even though I enjoyed being the hunter, the hunted was boring, because I was like, I only fought in a matter of a couple of years. When I became champion, I only fought like 4 or 5 times in a couple of years. And I was like, man, this is too slow. You know what I mean? I even had at the time I had my own gym, and I was paying rent in my gym, but it was cool when I was in there all the time. I was there every single day. All of a sudden now my trainers are telling me, hey man, go on a holiday, go and enjoy yourself, go to Thailand, you know what I mean? I was taking my younger brother to Thailand, having fun, whatever. Like, man, I was champion, but I was like, I wasn't active at the time, you know what I mean? And then sort of that is a bit of a detriment, because I'll tell you something about being sharp in a fight. You might not understand what that means, but I'm talking about when you see a fighter unload a mad combination like 1-2 left uppercut right hand, and you go, wow, that was sharp, man. That only comes from being in the gym. If you have been on a holiday, say for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, then 4 weeks after that you get a call up saying, hey, listen, you're gonna fight in the next 10 weeks. Then you go into camp for a 10-week training camp. Well, you're in that 10 weeks now trying to find your sharpness. But when you're in the gym, like when I had them 10 fights straight, I had like 10 fights straight, and I was like on, man. Every fight was like, man, I was sharp. I could show you footage. You're like, wow. I remember Andy Raymond. He was like, what the hell was that? Because I just like, my shots were just sharp, man. I was like, I was crisp. But then when you out of the ring for so long, it like you come back to camp, you're trying to find that sharpness, and you're trying to, you know what I mean? You're trying to lose that weight.
For the ring rust.
Yeah, exactly, man. And like in my last fight against Jacob Benji, I'd been out of the ring since COVID. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And even though I'd been in the gym, I'd been training or whatever, but not training to prepare for a fight, and I had, in like 2 years, I've had 2 fights. So during the whole COVID situation, whatever it is, I've only fought twice. Wow. So that's pretty tough, man. And like, so, when I got in the ring with Jacob, even though in camp you feel sharp and whatever, once you're under them bright lights, man, it's a different story, and you got to try to find that timing, the sharpness, you know what I mean? And it's not like being in the gym and sparring. In sparring, you got time to sort it out. Because it's not, you're not winning or losing. But when you're in a fight and you lose a round, that's 1 round down. You lose another round, that's 2 rounds down. Now you're playing catch up, you know what I mean? And so I was lucky, because the fight against Jacob Benji was like, even though my sharpness was not 100% there, I was able to turn it into a bit of a, no one will ever understand how that fight went and how I mentally prepared for that fight and how I mentally broke him down, and my approach to that fight. I call that fight the art of war. Because, and you might ask, well, why do you call it the art of war? But in the lead up to that fight, right, I started thinking about when I was younger and growing up, Shane Mosley, who was at the time was my promoter and was like one of my close friends, and I was living in Sugar Shane Mosley's house while I was growing up. He gave me a podcast, not a podcast, an audio book, and it was called The Art of War. He downloaded it onto my phone, and he goes, what I want you to do with this audio book is, he goes, I want you to listen to it every single night when you're going to sleep. I want it to be in your subconscious. And I was like, oh, really, Shane? He's like, yeah, I really want you to do that, please. Like, every night when you go to sleep, press play and sleep with that. So I remember being a kid and like Sun Tzu Ji says, you know, the art of war, and so the art of war is about mentally breaking an opponent down before you even face them. It's about breaking them mentally before you even touch them, before you even, think about fighting them.
Yeah.
And what I did was, I really strategically planned this, and I really mean this. I actually planned this in my mind. When I went to Melbourne, when I went to the Gold Coast for the press conference, and the press conference was at where the venue was going to be and everything. When I went to the first press conference, I played Mr. Nice Guy. I showed so much respect. Yeah. You know what I mean? Jacob's a champion, Jacob's this and Jacob's that, and and I even did some things like when we were staring down and gave him like a hug and whatever, and then I asked him about his family, and I spoke to his dad about I hope both of us come out of the ring safe, and I planted the seed of like trying to soften him up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Billy Dibbs at the end of his career, he's 36. Yeah. Even though I said, even though I'm 36, I'm a Muslim, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't take drugs, and you'll see on the night, whatever. I showed confidence in myself, but I gave a lot of respect to them. And that's where the respect stopped. Once I left that press conference and got back on the plane home, my mindset changed now. Yeah. So now, I went from being Mr. Nice Guy to throwing out verbal attacks, or not verbal attacks, cyber attacks through social media. I'd post up videos of him like being super skinny because he was like struggling to make weight, and then I'd put Mr. Stick, the stick man, I'd put his head on it and whatever. I had a friend of mine who's good with graphics and that, and we did like a couple of good things, and I even looked up anorexic people on social media and bulimic and stuff, and I would post it up and be like, this is Jacob NG right now getting ready for the fight and whatever. And so I started throwing out like verbal and cyber attacks. Then he responded back with things, but that's what I wanted him to do, because now I know I got him.
Waiting for it.
I had him because they got him to bite. So he starts sending out pictures of old ladies and me sitting with the old ladies. So he was doing exactly what I was doing, but started cutting my head out and putting me on the old man's body and whatever.
Sucked in,
And I was like, this is amazing. And my family, my brothers are like, don't get caught up in this shit. And I'm like, bro, let me handle my business. I know what I'm doing, please. Because my brothers are very politically correct, as you would say, you know what I mean? Like my brother Jihad especially, mate, don't get caught up in that stuff. It's no good. Said, no worries, Jay, just leave it to me. I know what I'm doing, right? So now he starts with the whole thing about Billy Dibbs an old man and blah, 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 blah. He starts believing all this shit, that I'm old and that I'm over the hill and all this stuff, right? Been there, done that, has been. He's what he was looking at me like. So I'm having a laugh. This is exactly what I've planned. It's all happening. So anyway, we arrived to the Gold Coast 3 days out from the fight. The 17th is the press conference. The 18th is the weigh-in. The 19th is the fight. So we get to the press conference and we sit down and I start off respectful, and then the gentleman who's working the microphone, his name is James O'Shea. He says, Billy, he's been throwing out these verbs and whatever that you're an old man. I said, how dumb is he? And I actually looked at him. I said, how dumb are you, man? I said, here you are bagging me, calling me old. And I'm like, and guess what? When you lose to me, people are going to say that an old man beat you. I said, who's teaching you how to build up a fight? I said, I said, listen, it's better that you shut your mouth and let me do the talking because you got no idea. And then, like, he was basically stunned.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking stunned, right? And then, now I know I've got him mentally, like, he's screwed. The look on his face, I've seen this look before. It was look of, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to say? He was like, I was like, Jacob, I know you've been running 10Ks every single day. And let's be honest, you're only running the 10Ks to lose the weight. You're only doing that to lose the weight. Because I know you're starving, Jacob. Matter of fact, hold on 1 second. Let me get you some Uber Eats. I said, can you bring up that Uber Eats that I ordered? And I got somebody in the crowd to bring up Uber Eats. No joke, I did.
That's great.
I swear, I promised I did exactly that. He was rattled, man. And then he's like, well, everyone on my social media scene, I've been eating good. I've been eating fish and rice. I go, you call that food? Fish and rice? I've been having a little bit of salad. I go, you call that food? I said, look, man, you got no idea, bro. I go, it's better that you keep quiet. And so I mentally had like got him bad, right? And then I'll tell you what I did. This is the gun thing that I did. I was like, now tonight, Jacob, before you go to sleep, make sure you run 10 kilometers, Jacob. And tomorrow when you wake up in the morning, you run another 10Ks because you got to come in on weight. If you don't come in on weight, you're in trouble, Jacob. I'm telling you, all right? So anyway, we get to the weigh-in. I get up in the morning and I get on the scale, right? I'm in my room. And I did a little bit of a workout, whatever it is, to get the weight off. And fine, I'm on weight, exactly 61.2. I don't want to be no lighter than that. Now, professionally, what you would do is, like, make sure you come in at 61 on your scale, just because, like, sometimes there's a bit of a change in scales. And now I was on weight on my scale, you know what I mean? So I figured I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to be on weight. Anyway, so we get to the stage, whatever it is. Billy DIB, can you step on the scale first? Yes, I can, no problem. I'm the challenger, right? He's the champion. I'm the challenger, so I've got to show that respect. I've got to get on the scale first. I get on a scale, and I step on a scale, and I came in at 61.35. So I'm 100 grams overweight.
Yeah.
But there was something wrong with their scale. But I didn't argue because I wanted him to think that I was struggling to make weight, which I wasn't. Not at all, you know what I mean? Because I usually fight at 59 kilos. That was an extra 2.2 kilos. Like to play with. I was super comfortable, right? And what I could have done right there and there to make the weight is just get a towel, take my underwear off, and I'll make weight. That's as easy as I was like, you know what? No, let me go. I need to go to the sauna, right? So what do you think the first thing that he says after he makes weight? They interview him. He's like, oh, Billy DIB said I wouldn't make weight. He couldn't even make weight. And mind you, he's looking like this. Like a full junkie, right? Like a full junkie. And I hope Jacob Ben sees this. You're a junkie, Jacob. You know what I mean? So he looks like a full junkie, right? Like all scrawny and that, you know. And then I'm like, anyway, so I went off, got in the steam room for like 5 minutes, come back, make weight, no problem. Anyway, oh man, yeah, I've struggled to make weight, whatever. I play the whole thing, right? Yeah. Mind you, it's not like that at all. Then we get to the ring, and then I know that he comes out to the ring dancing, and he does this whole flamingo thing and do a little dance, take a little love, get down tonight. Whatever. That's the song that he walks out with, right? Yeah. So I was like, man, I gotta upstage this guy. I'm in his crowd, I'm with his people, and I gotta do something big. So I came out with Shaka Khan, Ain't Nobody Loves Me Better.
No way.
And I'll come out dancing and carrying on, whatever. People in the crowd, some girl looks at me who's sitting next to his girlfriend or his fiance, and she goes to me, F you dirty wog. While I was walking through, I was like, man, I'm really in your guys' head. Yeah. I'm really in your guys' head. I was like really in their head. And then, so I've slowly shined walking out to the ring, right? No one really cares about his walkout. Then I get in the ring, and then he gets into the ring after me, right? Because I'm in the ring. And as he gets in the ring, I give him a little push on the head. I'm just planting the seeds, like to break him down mentally, you know what I mean? And I did that throughout the whole fight. And in the end, there was something that happened. It's called a self-implosion, and he self-imploded, man. Just because I pushed him so much, I pushed them buttons so much. In the end, he self-imploded, bro, and you saw what he did.
What do you mean, sorry? What do you mean by self-imploded?
Self-imploded, man, because I pushed him to the point of breaking, like, mentally, you know what I mean? He was like, man, I can't deal with this shit no more. So he picks me up and throws me.
Oh,
right?
Okay, yeah.
So he's had a self-implosion, you know what I mean? You could say he had a brain explosion, but I call it a self-implosion because he imploded from within himself. Yeah, exactly. Because I had frustrated him so much. And that's called the art of war, man. That's called, you know what I mean? Like, now at this age, I'm 36, right? And Billy DIB of 25, 26, 27 would beat the shit out of Billy Dib of 36. That's the truth. But the 36-year-old Billy Dib would outsmart Billy Dib of 25, 26. Yeah. I'd play mind games with him.
A wily veteran, huh?
Yeah, it's called veteran tactics.
100%.
And I'm only just growing into that now, you know what I mean? Like I remember being a young boy and fighting these veterans and they tried to upset me. And sometimes I'd bite, you know what I mean? But I was just lucky that alhamdulillah I had the good skill set that could get me through.
Yep.
So but yeah, man, that's definitely you know, one of the definite highlights of my recent career is that how I was mentally able to go back on something as a young boy and use that, what I was taught by Shane Mosley. Shout out to Shane Mosley, you know, for you know, for giving me that audio book, and I was able to put that into play. It was awesome, man.
Well,
awesome.
That's a crazy story. You know, and I was thinking about it because I was watching the press conferences, and then I ended up watching the fight as well, and I was tripping out because I was like, what's Billy doing? You know, like there's like this constant loop of like you were nice at the start and then you ended up like giving it to his life and whatever, because I started following it myself, and then I ended up seeing the result of it in the ring, like you were saying. You seen him, how he tried to peg you at the end because he couldn't get what he wanted to get out of you in the cage like normally. In the ring normally.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, man, is that he was spending his whole time talking about, I'm going to knock Billy Dib out.
Yeah.
I'm going to knock Billy Dib out. I'm going to knock Billy Dib out. You know, that's all he said.
Yeah.
You could play it on repeat, you know. And so I thought to myself, this guy is just banking on knocking me out. And you know what? Straight up, Jacob, you can't hit for shit. You're shit. You're shit. I hope you watch this. You are shit, man. He couldn't hit. He couldn't crack an egg. I'm serious. He had no power whatsoever. Nothing.
It's all the 10K.
Man, nothing. All he did was just waste himself away, running to make that weight. You see how tall the guy is, right?
Yeah.
He should be fighting at welterweight or something like that, man. The guy's busy trying to make lightweight, trying to be a giant. But he loses his power by doing that.
Exactly.
He lost all of his strength by doing that. And I swear to you, he had no power whatsoever. And I was like, man, if this guy's banking on knocking me out, he's lost the plot, you know what I mean? And so, I knew mentally, like, everyone's like, man, just get through the first couple of rounds. I'm like, get through what, man? This guy can't hurt me. He can't hurt me. Like, he's too slow. He's not crisp. You know, he's slapping and what. Anyway, look, man, he can say what he wants. They were like, oh, we were going to stop you later in the fight. You ain't going to stop shit. I was going to stop you, and that's the truth. You know what I mean? You had a self-implosion. I won. You lost. The belts are mine. Hope you like them, Jacob. You know, they're looking good. They're sitting tight with me right now, man.
And us, man. I'm touching your belt too, Jacob.
You know what I mean? So, it's a little...
Like, don't come for me.
A little bit of rubbing the salt in the wound. Shout out to Ace Boxing Promotions for the belts. Love it, man. Love it.
Boys. Yeah.
Angelo DiCarlo, you the man, brother.
Yeah, I want to switch gears, but I want to talk more so about the mentality or the mental state that it goes into, like, fighting in general. Because a lot of people, like you were saying, they're gym champions, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people are gym champions. They can mix it up with the best of them, you know, in ring, in sparring and whatever. And then underneath the bright lights, it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel? And then if you do feel like that nervousness or whatever it is, like as normal, like as people do, what do you do to kind of calm the nerves and the mental state?
Well, man, for me, look, bro, it's obviously you get nervous. It's a given. You're gonna get nervous. You're gonna get anxiety and things like that. But the truth is that if you've prepared well, you'll overcome that. Because when you have prepared well, you know that you're going to go in there and do the job. But if you haven't prepared well, that's when doubt starts to kick in. That's when the anxiety levels hit higher levels. You know what I mean? That's when things like that take over. But for me, alhamdulillah, man, look, I've always trained really hard and I've left no stone unturned. And I do get nervous before fights, but it's not about losing. For me, when I get nervous, it's about letting people down. I don't want to let my family down. I don't want to let my friends down. I don't want to let my supporters down. That's the one thing that I fear, is letting people down. But I've never feared losing, man. Life is, you know, even if you're a winner like Floyd Mayweather, right? Floyd Mayweather's undefeated champion, like killer, you know what I mean? Joe Calzaghe. There's been some really great fighters who have gone undefeated, you know what I mean, in their career. You know, but the thing is, in life, we lose. You know,
Yeah,
we
inevitable.
lose on a daily basis. Every day of your life, you lose. Because every day that you live a day, there's another day that you've lost. There's another day closer to your death.
Yep.
So life is about, you know, we are losing every day, man. You might not lose a fight. You might. I've lost money in the past. I've lost things like that. I've lost loved ones. I lost my wife. You know what I mean? You lose. Life is about losing, man. But it's about, you know, you see, God has created us as a forgetful nation, man. We are a forgetful nation. We are, because, and the word insan comes, like, basically when they say insi is what we are. We're called an insan, and that when you translate that is forgetful human. Because if we weren't a forgetful type of person, imagine every time, you know, calamity hit your life, you'd never be able to get over it. But Allah created us in a way that we'd be able to forget and move forward, man. Because sometimes you go to a funeral, you see somebody pass away, and you're so sad. Yet a week later, you're with another mate and you're having a laugh about something. You know what I mean? It's true. You know, man, I've been in the situation myself. I know what it feels like.
Yeah.
And like, you know, not everything in life is about winning, man. It's about how you pick yourself up and move forward from certain calamities that hit you.
100%.
So, you know, it's like I said, kudos to Floyd Malva and Joe Calzaghe and some of the other great champions out there who have retired undefeated. You know what I mean? Rocky Marciano, all these sort of guys. But it's not everything, man.
Yeah.
You know, it shows character in, you know, whenever I've lost, and as I'm saying to you guys, like, you know, I've lost now 6 times in my career, and I've always found myself back in the world ratings. That makes me really proud, man.
Yeah.
Because that's a story that can be told. Because if I go to a school and talk to a bunch of kids and say to them, listen, you know, tough times don't last, tough people do, they can resonate to me because I can tell them, look, I've lost 6 times in my career, but I built myself back up.
Exactly.
I found myself back in the ratings, and that's simply by having a never say die attitude. And my slogan in life, or my you know, the one thing that I go by is that vision, consistency, success. Everything in life starts with a vision. Consistency brings you to the success. But if you have a vision and you don't act upon that vision, that's just a vision.
Exactly.
Vision's gone.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you wake up and like, you know, man, I want to be a football player. The next day you wake up, I want to be a UFC player. You know, like that's the kind of mentality that some people have. They're not set firm on one thing. But if you have a vision and you're very, very adamant about that vision and consistent in that vision, you'll only get success. And regardless of whatever you want to do, the podcast that you guys are doing, you're traveling around doing whatever you're trying to do to make this serious podcast. If you remain consistent, before you know it, you guys will have an amazing following.
Exactly. You just
You'll
have to
have
turn up, yeah?
Exactly, man. You just got to get it done.
100%.
That's exactly what it is.
100%. That's it's amazing that you ended up touching on like us as human beings just consistently losing, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's something that we wrestle with like every day. Like like there's people that can handle it and people that can't, and the people that can handle it, or the people that kind of persevere, are the ones that end up getting there in the end, you know? Like you were saying. And yeah, like I just wanted to see like there's moments in your life where you start to like wrestle with your mortality, yeah? Like when you're younger, in your younger years, like your younger Billy Dib, you know? You're 25, 26, you're at Mosley's house, you know, you're kicking it, you know? You kind of have that sense of that, you know, like that invincibility, you know? You're on top of the world, you got the belts. And I remember you were talking about a fight that you wrestled with death, basically.
Yeah.
In it. And I want to see if you can just jog our memory with that one.
The belt's sitting right behind you. It was for the IBO world title, the IBO Super Featherweight world title. In the lead up to the fight, I spent a lot of time in the media telling them that I'd be willing to die before I leave the ring without the ring. I'm not leaving the belt without that. I'm not leaving the ring without that belt. I'm going to be the champion. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And even though I worked hard in the lead up, when it came the day of the fight, the anxiety levels hit like a sky high. Sky high. And this guy that I was fighting was no joke, man. He was taller than me. He had much longer reach than me. I couldn't even believe that he made the weight. The truth is, I don't know how he made the weight. God rest his soul, he passed away now, man. So he got shot dead just over a couple of months ago. And man, on the day of the fight, bro, I could not contain myself. I spent hours crying, man, crying my eyes out, because I was scared to let people down. You know what I mean? And I'd spent all this time on in the media saying I'll die before I leave the ring, and that was like my whole thing. I'll die before I leave the ring. What the hell are you gonna die? I'm not gonna die in no ring. You know what I mean? I think about myself saying that now. I'm like, you stupid, Billy. Anyway, and I remember coming down when I was in my room, and I got in the lift, and came down the lift, and then the lift opened up, and when it opened up, all my family was there, all my cousins, my relatives, my auntie Hoda, my mum, everyone was clapping, and you know what I did? I turned around, got back in the lift, and went back up. I was crying my eyes out, man, because I was like, I'm gonna let all these people down. I was like, not that I didn't believe in myself, but I was like, man, I just wasted so much energy crying. Anyway, when we eventually got to the arena, and like, you know, I'm the main support to Anthony Mundine and whatever. My trainer, one of my trainers at the time, his name is Brian Wilmot. He's my cut man, but he's also one of my trainers. He writes on the wall with sticky tape, WIN, win. That's it. Just wrote win on like big sticky tape letters. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna go out and win, no matter what happens, man. And I said to Johnny Lewis, I said, Johnny, listen, whatever happens in the fight, don't stop the fight.
Oh, wow.
Whatever happens, let me go out on my shield, man. Let me do what I got to do.
Wow.
And I got in the ring, and I promise you, I saw death. I really, really saw death, you know what I mean? And I think it was like in round 9, Johnny Lewis says to me, Billy, listen, no one will question your heart if I stop the fight now. And I'm like, no way, Johnny. No way. I'll die in here. I'm not going to... Don't you dare stop the fight. I'm going to kill this guy, you know what I mean? And I ended up winning the fight. It was a close fight, man. I won. When I went back home... Well, I didn't go home because we were in Newcastle. It's where the fight took place. When I went back to the hotel, I was shivering, man. I was shivering. I was like... Couldn't contain myself. I was getting the chills. The body aches that I had, my head, everything was killing me, man.
Yeah.
I really, really... I swear to you, I thought, man, I'm going to die tonight. I went to a place of death. And then, let me tell you something. After that, mentally, I was a little bit broken. I needed time to recover from that, man. Like, I wasn't willing to go... Like, I went to a place of death to win, and I wasn't willing to do that again for a while. I was not willing to do that for a while, you know what I mean? I wasn't willing to go there. That broke something. In the ring that day, that broke something. Definitely, something inside me got broken, whatever. And
left a piece of you there, yeah.
Man, I left a piece of me in that ring. Newcastle owns a piece of my upbringing, man. I'm telling you, because it was tough, but I got through it.
Yeah.
And you know, and like I said, we were talking about getting through tough times. You know what I mean? Even though I won, I lost something in that ring. Yeah. You see, I won, but I lost.
Yeah, you learned something.
But see what I'm saying to you? It's not always about winning. In life, you lose a lot of things, and I lost something on that night. I'm telling you, I did.
Yeah.
I know myself, because the following fight when I fought Stephen Luevino for the WBO featherweight world title, and this is a world title that I really, really wanted, man. I wanted it bad, but I didn't want it bad enough to push myself to the point of death.
Yep.
And you know why I wanted it bad? Because my childhood hero, Prince Nassim Hamed, he held that belt. And I always imagined that I would hold the same title as him. Yeah. And that IBF world title that you're seeing behind you, he actually held that title. That's why I'm so proud to have it. Because he beat Tom Boom Boom Johnson for that title in 1997. But when I fought Stephen Luevino, I wasn't willing to go to that place of death. Yep. You know what I said to myself? I'll live to fight another day.
That's it.
Wallah, that's what I said.
Wallah,
I was not willing to go to a place of death with this guy, man. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. Not this time. Not after what I just been through, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I think I should have took a little bit more time. But everything in your life happens for the greatest of reasons. Mm-hmm. Right after the loss to Stephen Luevino, I found myself at a crossroads. People were writing me off. I was 23 years old. People saying he's done. 23 and people saying I'm done. Oh, he's a hoax. He's a fake. And I remember being on the phone with Prince Nassim Hamed, and he said, listen, come see me and let's spend some time together and that. Something about Nassim, he always had the ability to help me, you know, feel like I was, you know, a champion or whatever. He always put me on a high, you know what I mean? Every time I got off the phone with him, I felt like I was on such a high. After I got off the phone with him, Literally 10 minutes later,
Yeah.
I get a phone call. My mom's sitting next to me from the Saudi embassy saying, Salaam alaikum, Bilal. What else? I said, yeah, wa alaikum salam. Who's this? He said, oh, it's such and such from the Saudi embassy. You've been invited to perform Hajj. And I was like, oh. And I'm like, when? And he told me the dates. And I was like, that's around the time that I'm going to hang out with Princess Azim. You know what I mean? So I was like, unfortunately, I'm going to turn you down. And my mum, when I hung up the phone, she had this look of disgust on her face. I've never seen this look on my mum's face, ever.
Yeah.
And me and my mum were super close. She's like, how dare you? And I'm like, what?
To you, it's just a normal decision.
Yeah, she goes, how dare you? She goes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just invited you to Mecca to perform Hajj, bet Allah. And she goes, and you turned it down. Like, you're disgusting. And I was like, Mum, I'm going to go hang out with Nas. She's like, oh, she goes, let me tell you something. Nas ain't going to help you win no world titles. You want to win a world title, you need to go speak to Allah. That's what you need to do. So I was like, oh man, she's right, you know?
Yeah.
So I rang the guy back and I was like, look, I'm really embarrassed, but is that office still open? He goes, of course. And next thing you know, I find myself on the trip to Hajj. And I called the trip to Hajj because I name everything, right? So I named it the labor of love. And you might ask me, why would you call it the labor of love? And you know, going to Hajj is not easy, man.
Yeah.
It's only something that you do out of love because it's hard work, man. It's hard work. And you got to have a lot of patience and tolerance for people's, you know, may Allah forgive all those who are at Hajj hurting people, you know, like pushing the...
Stampeding.
Man, I'm serious. Like some people are just like...
I've seen Tawaf. I can't imagine Hajj is
there's
like
no like haniya at all, man. It's like and nafsi, you know what I mean? I'm serious.
Yeah.
And I say, you know, like subhanallah, I went to Hajj, and when I was in Arafat, my dad says, because my dad was in Hajj too, but he was in a different crew. I was with the Saudi crew, you know, I'm living it up. You know what I mean? My dad was with the Australian crew that he took over, and my dad says, listen, when you're in Arafat, ask for whatever you want. I said, Dad, whatever I want? He goes, whatever you want, come true. I said, come on, Dad. He said, whatever you want. I said, I feel a little bit guilty asking for boxing. People are out there starving, Dad.
Yeah.
He goes, doesn't matter. Make dua for everyone and everything, but make dua for whatever you want. He says, Ya Allah, I know you allowed me to win a world title, but can I win one more, please? Could you direct me to the right team that would help me win a world title? And subhanAllah, when I came home, it's like everything fell into place. It's like, Allah, you asked for that? Let me give you that. I was like, I should have asked for maybe another 2 or 3.
Didn't ask for enough, yeah?
I like, whatever I asked for, Allah gave me.
Yeah.
So if I ever said to, like I've made dua when I was going to fight Tevin Farmer for the IBF Super Featherweight World title, say, Ya Rab, please, Ya Allah, grant me this victory, Ya Allah, please. I'm begging you, Ya Allah, grant me this victory. And then I lost. I was like, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, you know what I mean?
Should've gone to
I was
Hajj.
like, Ya Allah, could you have just like tweaked it a little bit? You know? Could you have put that in my, like, you know what I mean?
Alhamdulillah.
Decreed that for me?
Wallah.
But subhanAllah, man, like I said, you know, it's just been an amazing journey, man. I swear, honestly, I wouldn't change it for anything. There's been the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs. But I am where I am today because of whatever Allah's put me through, you know what I mean?
100%.
And honestly, like, there's so much more that I wanted. But alhamdulillah.
Wallah.
You know, but like honestly, the greatest gift that I have now is my wife and my son. That's my greatest gift.
MashaAllah.
Wallah, they're the best. My wife's the best person to me, and my son is just an absolute champion. You know what I
Not
mean?
gonna box, is he?
No, I don't think so. He says, I don't think so, Dad. No, he loves boxing, man. And to be honest with you guys, we had to sort of scare him the other day. We had to get my brother to sort of like put the heat on him a little bit because he was
test him out.
because he was getting around hitting all these kids and
wow.
and I'm not just talking about hitting them. I'm talking about dropping them for real.
Oh,
Like
no.
he hit my sister's daughter with a straight right hook, boom, right in the face, dropped her. My niece just laughed, but
She's
that's
a
just
fighter,
man.
yeah.
He like honestly, we do this iftar thing every Friday with the family, and there's like loads and loads of kids. Man, he bashes every kid. He bashes the big ones, the small ones. He does not care. So I had to get my brother to like sort of scare him a little bit, and now he just refuses to hit anybody. If he gets that feel, I got him. I ring NASA, and he goes, no. You know what I mean? I said, Dad, you can only hit people when you got the boxing gloves on. Okay, boxing gloves. I say, but there's no boxing gloves here. Even I've had to hide all of the gloves, everything, wallah, because I'm not joking, man. This kid is throwing right uppercuts, left hooks, jabs, right hands.
This is Iftar.
Man, he's doing the whole 9 yards, right? And I'm like, man, I gotta stop this kid, man. This kid's gonna kill me. He's gonna want to box.
Yeah.
Well, like, now I understand what my mum and dad are going through. And my mum and dad are like, oh man, we don't want you to box and whatever. My dad tells me every day now, later that like, yeah, please, ya habibi, ya aini, you've had a great career, ya aini, you've won 2 world titles. What more do you want? And the champion, the maroof, just don't. Yeah, I said, Dad, I love it, man.
Yeah.
I know. He goes, you love it, but we love you. We want you around. You know what I mean? We don't want you to get injured, and I understand that. You know what I mean? But everyone has their own journey, man.
Yeah.
100%.
And wallah, it's crazy because when I was younger, I never imagined that I'd be fighting till I was 36. But I still feel good, man. I'm still within my faculties. I still speak well. I ain't no stuttering or anything like that, you know what I mean? Because people do that, you know what I mean? You get hit too many times in the head, you start stuttering, you know, and I don't do that. So alhamdulillah, and I don't want to do that, man. And obviously, you know, you got to pick the right time. And I've made a decision now that unless I get a really, really big fight, like I'm talking really big fight, I'm talking mega fight, then I'm pretty much going to park it up where it is, man. And when I say big fight, I mean, I'll put the names out there. I mean, people like Javante Davis, Maxie Hughes, Leo Santa Cruz, Devin Haney, George Kambosos, Ryan Garcia. Like, pretty much they're the big names that I want, man.
Yeah.
If it ain't them, then I'm not interested anymore. It's all good. Nah. Yeah, you know what? Look, man, my goal now in life, wallah, is to become one of the best keynote speakers in the world. I want to become one of the best keynote speakers in the world. I want to travel the world. I want to be the next. You know, we all aspire to be like somebody. And even though we had great people in our deen who, you know, spread word and whatever, but you can compare yourself to people in the time that you're living. And, you know, Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins are such great keynote speakers, traveling the world, shining light and positivity upon people. And that's what I want to do. I want to use my story to shine light upon people, man. I want people to know that regardless of whatever you're going through in your life, if you persevere, you'll get there.
100%.
You know, you get knocked down, but you can get back up.
100%.
And that's what I want to do. I want to just do that. So, you know, this is our gym now, Fight Club in Bankstown. You know, it's here for young kids who are, you know, going through certain things in their life. You know, we just want to, you know, inspire, you know, aspire to inspire. You know what I mean? We just want to teach young kids that chase your dreams, leave no stone unturned, and success will follow.
And that's what's good about boxing as well. It teaches discipline, huh?
Definitely,
It's
man.
something that everyone needs in their life.
Definitely. Boxing is a sport of discipline, and we all need that for sure, man.
100%.
That's the one thing for my son, you know, man. It's like, if boxing can teach him that discipline, that's good, you know what I mean? But in regards to him competing in the sport, that's not something that I want him to do.
You fought for him to not need to.
Well,
fight.
yeah, I mean, but the thing is, look, it's crazy because in now times, like, fighters are now starting to capitalize off their father's name. And my son might see an opportunity to capitalize off my name when he gets older.
Yeah.
Just the same way that Conor Ben has capitalized off his dad, Nigel Ben. Tim Zoo's capitalized off Costa Zoo. You know, the Chris Eubanks off his dad. And now Nassim Hamed's sons are going to be coming through. So they see this opportunity to capitalize and make money, you know what I mean?
100%.
And obviously I never want to stop my son from making money, but everything that I have is for him anyway.
Like that Creed story, yeah?
Yeah, exactly,
100%.
man. That's a true story, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a real life story when you think about all these other fighters that are doing it now, like Conor Ben and all that stuff. And,
100%.
you know, even my younger brother Yusuf, he's doing it, you know what I mean? But it's different. When it's your son, it's different, you know what I mean? When it's your
100%.
brother's a different thing, but when it's your son that does it, people like, it's all eyes on your son because they want to see, is he cut from the same cloth as his father?
Yeah. It's closer to home.
Same
100%.
genes, same genetics.
100%. 100%. I don't know if you got any more questions.
I've got one question. So for like the next generation, you're talking not just for your son, but the people that attend this gym, how do you help them like develop the balance of like, you know, having a strong vision like you said, but then also not too strong that you neglect other things in your life? Especially at a young age as well, they could be super excited, super keen.
Well, the most important thing for me, man, is being faith. That's the most important thing. And I will go into another story to answer that question. But when my son was born, when I watched my son being born, I was extremely happy. You know, some people say, oh, they cry. I didn't cry. I just smiled. I seen this young boy coming into this world, and I thought, man, I need to learn how to read Quran. That was the first thing that came to my head. I got to learn how to read the Quran. And then, like, I was thinking, man, because when this kid gets older, and I said to him, Dad, you got to learn how to read Quran. He says to me, oh, what do I need to learn you didn't learn? Because I think about the mentality of today's generation. That's something they say. Why do I need to learn and you didn't learn? You know?
You got no leg to stand on then.
I got no leg to stand on. But now I do, because I've learned how to read the Quran. I've learned how to read Arabic. In 2 years, I've managed to, you know, perfect to some extent reading Arabic. So now I take him with me to Quran class. And even though he's only little, I just bring him to be around the atmosphere of it because I want him to see where he's going to go.
100%.
Like when he starts seeing it and he's becoming familiar with these people, he'll start to think. So the most important thing for me, first and foremost, before boxing, education, anything, is faith in Deen. That's number one. Everything else is after. But then education is important to me as well because without an education, knowledge is power.
It is, yeah.
Knowledge and power. Knowledge is power and power is success. Very simple. Without the knowledge, you got no power. Without the power, you got no success. It all follows. So getting an education is super, super important. Being knowledgeable is super important. You need to have an education, and that's going to build the success. And I got an education, and an education made me smart enough to be able to deal with certain people and certain things. So answering your question, yes. My thing that I try to teach young children and kids and boys and girls and whatever it is that knowledge is power and power is success. Vision, consistency, success. Work hard, but be connected to your faith and be respectful and treat people as though you want to be treated.
I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Sit down there.
Is this up?
I had just a couple more questions. Like, well, I was talking to you about before on the couch, and you said save it for the podcast. So I wanted to just touch on this one. Obviously, after a certain level of success, you start to get yourself into different rooms. You know, you start to get yourself more the upper echelon, and like you start to like roll with the high rollers and whatever. I wanted to ask, what's the craziest thing you've seen? Like, for example, Lupe Fiasco, I don't know if you know him, he's a rapper from America. He goes, at one stage he got invited to like a billionaire's house or whatever it is. And at the billionaire's house, they're serving things like meat that's only cut once every 4 or 5 years, you know? Like, or something like that. Or this is only harvested once every 10 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they're serving it up. What's the craziest thing you've seen?
Well, it's not the craziest thing that I've seen, but the thing is that when I became champion, I had access to certain things that people didn't have access to. That was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
For me, like, I can't say to you, oh, I've seen something that was so cool, but like, I was just so, like, wrapped in the fact that I could be somewhere that you couldn't. Like, I was mad about the St. George Dragons when I was growing up. All of a sudden, I find myself in the change rooms with them. Like, before the games, I'm watching Wayne Bennett talk to the team. I'm like, what the hell, man? I'm in like the creme de la creme, right? I'm like in the spot. Yeah. I'm watching the coaches talk to the players before halftime. You know what I mean? After, during halftime, and I'm right there, man. I'm like listening to the instructions and everything. I'm in the training camps with these guys. That was cool to me. The other thing is that when Eminem came to Australia, 50 Cent didn't come with him. Eminem came to Australia. 50 Cent got me backstage passes to go chill out with like Eminem. Yeah, no joke. And like, I was actually behind on a stage, during the time that they were like full singing or whatever it was,
Concert,
right?
Yeah.
Not the best of places to be, but like, again, access to something that people can't have access to. Hanging out with 50 Cent, even though it's didn't end the way that I would like the friendship to end, but being able to be like with my cousin, I'm like, hey cuz, you want to talk to 50? What? Like yeah, I'm like ringing right now, man. Hold on 1 second. Fifth, what's going on, brother? Can you speak to my cousin for a second? That was cool, you know what I mean? That was like shit. I had access to certain things, you know what I mean? And even like till today, which is a total blessing, man, and I go certain places and people don't want me to pay for things and they want to give me things and whatever like that. and it's nice to be recognized, man. But I always tell them, like, no, I don't need that. I can afford to buy it. No, you're our champion or whatever. Like, even though I was their champion, I'm still their champion. Like, to people, it's like, once a champion, always a champion, you know what I mean? And like, when I ring my brother's phones, they've still got like, the champ is calling. You know what I mean? Like, they show me that love, you know what I mean? That's a big thing, you know what I mean?
It's awesome. Wallah.
I joke around sometimes with my relatives. I'm like, man, when I was champion, you would have never did that to me. You know what I mean? Like, nah, man. I say, you would have never said that to me when I was champion. I just joke on it, you know what I mean? But like, you know, obviously, as I said to you, man, I had access to certain things, and I still do have the access if I want it. I just choose not to have it. You know what I mean? But I could access whatever I want, you know what I mean? Alhamdulillah, any event that's on, if I want to go to the event, you know, I can go to the event. Like Lou DeBella, I contacted Lou DeBella, who's George Kambosos' promoter. Said, Lou, I'd like to come to the fight. No problem, Billy, you're my guest, you know what I mean? So I'll have like a front row seat at the fight. That's nice, you know what I mean? I feel like that I like to be made to feel like, you know what, my achievements gave me something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. And the last question I wanted to ask, I don't know, how long we got left?
Just one, let's go.
Okay, the last question I was like, you know, if you could go back in time now and you saw your younger self, like maybe 18-year-old Billy, yeah, what would you say to him?
Well, I'm going to go even lower than I'm going to go back to when I was 12. If 36-year-old Billy could tell 12-year-old Billy, hey, champ, when you are 23, you're going to be the IBO super featherweight world champion. And when you're 26, you're going to be the IBF featherweight world champion. And you're going to reign for a few years. And you're going to be connected to this guy and that guy and that guy. I would have said, man, that's all I want. Because, you know, when I was a kid, all I ever dreamed of was being world champion. That's it. And all I used to say was, if I just win one world title, I'll be the happiest guy for the remainder of my life. And even when I was prepping for the IBF world title, which was my second world title, I said, if I win this title will give me a lifetime of happiness. I believed that when I was at that time. But if I could go back and tell that young Billy did that, this way it would be, you know, obviously I'd be super excited and whatever. Because, you know, that's all I dreamed about. So I want to be world champion. I need to be world champion. Ya Allah, please give me that world title. That's all I dreamed of, man. That's like you know, when they say I just manifested it and manifested it and manifested it until it came true, 100%. Right? But I did a podcast, or I did an interview with Mohammed Hoblos many years ago. And I told him, I said, it's crazy because I thought the happiness come through the belt, but there's no happiness in them titles, man. It's a short happiness. Yeah. It's minimal. You know what I mean? It's just an achievement, you know what I mean? It's something really cool that people can talk about. Like my dad can say, my son was a world champion. My brother can tell his mates, my brother was champion of the world. My nieces and nephews are growing up now and understanding that, wow, my uncle was champion of the world. That's like historic, you know what I mean? But in regards to giving you happiness in that, man, no happiness comes through no sport, no nothing like that. It's temporary happiness, man.
100%.
And I've really, wallah, the truth is, I've found more happiness in learning how to read the Quran than I have in that wahiyat Allah. I get chills, man. When I read from the Quran, and I'm like, and the Sheikh doesn't stop me, I'm like, man, I'm actually doing this, you know? Yeah. And I tell him, like, Sheikh, you know, when I was learning from the small books and I was stuttering and he's like, I told you you'd get to this point, man. I told you, you know, and that actually makes me really proud because I'm like, you know, when I was learning, that said to me, oh, if you die in this circumstance right now, Allah will resurrect you as somebody who knows the Quran off by heart. So I'm like, wow, really? Oh. So let me keep pushing, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I wouldn't push like that for anything else, you know what I mean? Like when he said to me, oh, Bilal, because there was tough times, man. It was hard I didn't know Alef, Bata, nothing.
Oh, wow.
I knew A, B, C, D, brother, and that's all I knew. And then Alef, Bata, whatever it is, right? But for the fact that I was able to pick it up and then when he told me what he told me, I was like, man, I'm going to come every Tuesday, every Thursday, and every Saturday. I'm going to be here because I just want to learn. Because if Allah decides to take me, man, I want him to take me as somebody that knows the whole Quran. 100%. That's got to be worth something, you know what I mean? See, when I get to the end of my life and I face Allah, you know, Allah might be proud of me for winning the world titles and for giving our people a bit of a platform and whatever it is, but that's not really where the happiness is going to come from, or that's not going to get you into Jannah. That ain't going to get you into Jannah, bro. And you know, let's be honest, right? Some scholars would say that hitting people in the face is haram, right? So, but like in saying that, man, because that's something that people ask me all the time. Oh, is boxing haram? I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But all I know is that it's given me a platform to be able to be a voice for our people. That's
100%.
it. To try to shed some positivity and light to the younger generations.
Definitely.
And I never ever go to a school and tell the kids I want you to box. Never. I always tell the kids when I go to schools, I always say, listen, the importance of education is, you know, important. I said, listen, whether you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, whether you want to be a school teacher, whether you want to be a garbage cleaner, whatever you want to be the best at it. I never tell anybody, oh, you want to be a boxer. No, I don't. Because I don't want that on my, if it is haram, I don't want that on my,
100%.
like aladimti, as they say, you know what I mean?
100%.
That's it.
100%. You want to ask questions? You reckon leave it till there? Oh, beautiful. I think, honestly, that's a perfect note to end it on. Wallah,
Man, thank you guys so much.
We appreciate
This
you.
is all ours,
Shout
bro,
out
wallah.
to the brothers. Shout out to the Ummah, man. Free Palestine.
That's it, man.
And may Allah guide and protect all those who are on the straight path, man.
Allahumma
And if you're
ameen.
not on the straight path, may Allah guide you to the straight path.
Oh, man, I mean, listen. Also, may Allah guide you to like, comment, and subscribe on our channel. And Billy,
No doubt.
he told me beforehand, he's coming for you guys, huh? I heard 50% of you guys aren't subscribed, so make sure you do. Otherwise, this man
Show
right
some
here,
love to the brothers, man. Show some love, you know. Whenever you see brothers trying to do something positive, show some love. You know, when you show love, Allah will show you love. So do that.
That's it. Thank you very much, guys. Take care, huh?